Hey y'all. Think you might be able to see me? It's been so long since I've gone live. Okay, hang on. If you're listening on the podcast or watching on YouTube, this might be a little dead air. But give me just one moment. I want to make sure we're live on Facebook. It has been so long since I've gone live. I feel like I've lost my mojo there. Okay. Yeah, we are live on Facebook. So let me go into that so I can watch the chat. All right, we are there. Hey everyone, it's Uncle Paul. Let me play our theme song. It has been so long, y'all. I forgot how to do all of this. So bear with me here. Bear with me. To play.
Hey y'all, Uncle Paul here, and it's time to get in the arena with Uncle Paul. Stay tuned.
These words will never let me go. Oh no, these words will never let me go.
The Houston metro area has over 7 million people, and yet only one unfiltered source of news. And that's Grizzy's Hood News. Grizzy Castillo has built a platform of dedicated followers, helping her solve cases, find missing people, and cover stories that the mainstream networks just won't cover. When my nephew went missing, Grizzy was the first and only for the longest time to help us. She's become a pillar in the community, and now she's got a podcast, Hood News Unfiltered with Grizzy, that you can watch Saturday mornings at 9:30 a.m. on Houston CW or anytime at grizzyshoodnews.com. Grizzy works tirelessly to bring us content, sometimes funny, sometimes heartbreaking, and sometimes dangerous, which is why we have to support her sponsors. Go to grizzyshoodnews.com and find out how you can advertise, follow her on all the major social media platforms, or watch her anytime at grizzyshoodnews.com. If it's real news, it's Hood News. That's grizzyshoodnews.com.
Thank you, Grizzy. That is my girl. I absolutely adore her and love her. So we are waiting on Tiffany. I did start the show a couple minutes early because I just kind of want to fill you in on where I've been. So, I started the show roughly 6 months into my sobriety, and as that 1 year mark got closer, I started getting really anxious and a little depressed and even a bit scared that I wouldn't make it. So I just kind of put pause on everything, activism, advocacy, podcasting. I just put a pause on all of that. So now I'm just a few days shy of 14 months. So now I'm back. Let me go back to the chat here. Let's see what's going on. We have, hey, there's Tiffany. Okay, we're getting her in here. There she is. You are muted. There you are. Hey, Mama.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Your hair looks great.
Thank you.
So, how are you? Oh, we have the same. Look at what I have on my wall. You can't see it from here, but I'll pick it up.
I love that picture of her.
You do too. It's one of my favorites. I never even met her. How are you doing today?
Today I'm okay.
Yeah,
Some days I'm okay, some days I'm not. Just really depends.
I hear
I had my
that.
youngest in town for the past week, so it's
Bless your heart.
been wonderful.
Yeah, her youngest or your youngest?
My youngest.
Okay.
Apollo's been in town. They
Oh
moved
yeah.
to North Dakota.
Yeah. Oh wow. How is he like in North Dakota? That's quite a ways away.
Not so much. Doesn't like the snow.
I don't blame him. All right, bear with me
About 3 days
once.
in, we were done.
I can imagine. I was trying to get this picture of Taylor that I made pulled up. Give me 1 second. It's been so long since I've done anything live that I feel
I
like I've lost.
know.
Joe here.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Okay. So let's dive right in. Let me get the chat open again in case anyone says anything. Okay. Y'all, forgive me. I used to be so good at this. Okay, let me close these little things in the back here. Okay. So I was just telling the audience where I've been because I was doing podcasting pretty much every week, and then as I got closer to a year of sobriety, I just kind of took everything, like took time off from everything because I was just getting kind of overwhelmed, trying to make sure that I got that year of sobriety, and I didn't want anything to come between me and that. So I am roughly at 14 months. I hope everyone can hear. This computer is.
Congratulations.
Thank you, honey. Oh, I also want to shout out Ari. You don't know who Ari is, but Ari does our theme song. Today is his 1 year of sobriety. So I love.
Awesome. Congrats.
Thank you for the free theme song because I can't afford to pay you for it. So, all right. So we have talked before. Taylor's case is obviously one that's really close to my heart. But for those who may be hearing the story for the first time, I kind of just wanted to go into a little background of who Taylor was, what happened. What am I kicking on the floor? My room is a mess. Forgive me. I should have cleaned up better. But I just kind of wanted to go into a little background of who Taylor was, background on the case for those who are completely unfamiliar. So just give us like a little like brief summary. Like if you were to write a headline about Taylor's case, what would it say?
Oh gosh, there's so much I could say. Just say beautiful single mom, um, trying to make life better for her and her children, was cut down in her prime. She was taken way too soon.
And how many children does she have?
She had two.
And
A
remind me
little
there.
boy, a little girl.
And how old were they when she lost her life?
Phoenix was 3. He turned 4, um, like about a week, a little over a week after she passed.
Oh my God, I
And
did.
Presley was 6, 9 now. Yeah.
My God. And so I first came to know your story through Grizzy. Shout out to Grizzy. Y'all know I adore Grizzy. For those who don't know who Grizzy is, she's a citizen journalist in Houston who's often the one and only to cover so many cases, including Taylor's.
Including Taylor, yes.
Now, she was actually at a protest for AJ, and she said she had to leave. I remember it like it was yesterday. It was September 18th. It was a Saturday. And she said she had to leave because she got word about a young woman found dead in the back of a tattoo shop. Um, and when she was telling me this, I text her like right after because y'all know I'm a medium, and this was before I like really like honed into the gift and even accepted that. But the moment she said that, or because we were texting, and the moment she texted me that, like I could see it, and I sent it right back to her. I'm like, oh my God, Grizzy, this is dark. I could see a laptop. I could see like a back room. I could see like a dirty couch. I could see a lot of dark things. I won't go into everything because yeah, you know how she was taken, and we'll get there. But like it was overwhelming for me, and I'd never even met her. But Grizzy was leaving our protest to run on over there. I did want to play. Give me 1 second. I should find the video. I wanted to play a little clip of that when she went to 59 Inc. with you. Bear with me one moment.
Okay.
Everyone wants to message me right now because of course they. So let me open this clip up. It might be a little choppy on your end, but that's just
there, right?
Nope, that's how it is. So let me share here. Sound. I used to be a Zoom expert, y'all, in the days of COVID. Is it? Did I do it right? Share sound. Oh, there we go. And
This is Taylor's mom. What are you guys doing out here, mom? And be loud because it's going to be hard to hear you.
Protesting. We want this price closed down because they lost my daughter in there. We found her deceased over there in the back of this place. The cops aren't done anything about this single arrest. There wasn't even an actual crime investigation. The forensics didn't come out, nothing. They just put her in the back and took her off.
Man. All right, friends. So this is Grizzy reporting live 4,000 block of Hopper Road here on the northeast side of Houston. Here for Tailor Clark, young lady who was found deceased inside of a tattoo shop out here on the northeast side. And her family and friends are gathered out here. There's going to be more folks pulling up. I mean, despite the rain and everything, rain, sleet, or snow, this family and these friends are here to support.
I need justice for Taylor and justice for Priscilla.
There's another young lady's family out here too for Priscilla.
Shut down 59E.
Justice for.
okay. Now that was taken. Was that taken the same day? Was that September 18th?
No, that was You know, I'm sitting here thinking, I honestly couldn't tell you how much longer it was. If it was 2 weeks, if it was a week, I was not even, mentally present at the time. Like I'm looking at that right now, thinking to myself, like I really couldn't even, like I remember being there, but, I don't know when it was. I'll be honest with you. I know it
No
was,
worries.
I think it was a couple of weeks afterwards.
Well, that was
Um,
part of my questioning, and you kind of answered that. But given how watching that video, it almost seems like you're a bit disconnected. And I'm not a parent, and I've never lost a child, and I don't have any children to lose. But I could see like there it feels like there's a level of disconnection there because I can't imagine being in your shoes, standing right outside where your daughter's life was taken, and having to protest. How did that feel in that moment?
it was hard. It was very hard, but as much as I could be there, mentally, um, in my mind, I just had to do, I mean, I had to be there. I had to do this for Taylor. Um, so it was very hard. Like, so many things I could tell you I wanted to do, but I couldn't, but, it was just very hard for me to do. It wasn't. There was a part of me, it was very easy to do because I was doing it for Taylor. But then there was a part of me that it was so hard being there, knowing that, she died in that building.
Hmm.
Give me 1 second.
Sure, Mama. And y'all, while we're waiting for her to come back, so that clip I just showed you was right outside of 59 Ink. It is a tattoo shop on, I believe, the northeast side. I'm horrible with directions, y'all. But that is 59 Ink. And you'll notice there was another woman mentioned, Priscilla. I have tried to get in touch with Priscilla's family, but they don't. Maybe they haven't read my messages. They're unresponsive at the moment. But
Yeah, we've even tried to reach out to him recently as well. I think Amanda's been able to reach him, but, um, I don't know if they just don't want to talk. I don't know.
no,
It's understandable. It's hard to bring it all back up. I can imagine.
of course,
Can only imagine
of course, and
for them.
allegedly, Priscilla was a woman that was found dead in Jesse Choppa Chop, aka Chop, found dead in Chop's house of a suspected drug overdose. And that's pretty much what they claimed how Taylor was found, right? They assumed
Right.
drug overdose.
They said she was intoxicated when she got there. And anyway, she was supposedly intoxicated when she got there.
And we're
But
gonna
yes,
call
it was
bullshit on that real quick.
real quick. I talked to her when she was standing in the parking lot. I know she wasn't.
So let's rewind. Let's rewind a little bit. So tell me a little bit about Taylor growing up. What kind of daughter was she? And your line of children, was she the oldest, the middle? I can't remember.
She was the middle one. Taylor was a hot mess. She was, she was a wild child, you know. She was real prissy. She was definitely a girly girl. Um, she, she was just a fun little girl. Like she's very, I don't know, she was the boss.
Mm.
I shall put it that way. She was, you know, she demanded to be the boss and everything, even when she was with her cousin. Like my sister's oldest son was like 6 months older than her. And literally, when they would play, my mom would tell me, because my mom watched both of the kids when they were little instead of us putting them in daycare. But Taylor would, she literally would she would position Iggy how she wanted him to be while they were playing. You know, you're going to sit like this, you know, and he was such a sweet kid. He'd say, "It's okay, Mom, I don't mind." But yeah, that was Taylor. She was, you know, pretty much the boss, tried to be anyway.
What
But
do you
she was a sweet girl. Definitely a sweet girl.
what do you remember most about her as a little girl?
Well, I say she was a sweet little girl, but I remember her being mean. she was she was ornery, but she, you know, she was very spunky, but she was a sweet little girl. She had a big heart, and I loved that about her.
Oh,
Always
Aunt
did.
Jennifer is in the chat. She's watching. She says she was such a sassy girl.
She was sassy. But she had a heart of gold. She was just, she was a sweetheart. She's a very sweet girl and grew into a very sweet young woman. She's a very sweet young woman. She definitely had a big heart.
Now, when did she have her first baby?
She was 19.
Oh, the same age AJ was.
Yeah.
That's so an interesting age. And how was she as a mom?
She was such a good mother. I was so proud of her. She was like, I remember her telling me one time, um, she's like, I didn't never want to be a mom, but if I'm going to be a mom, I'm going to be that mom. I'm going to be the it mom. Like she wanted to do it all the best. If she was going to make cookies, they had to be the best cookies. They had to be the most extravagant cookies. She being a single mom, she went above and beyond, I believe, for the kids. She always made sure they had what they wanted, and that's what she was, during COVID, she lost her job. And so that's what led her to do what she was doing with the salve. She was starting her own business. She to provide for the kids. She
And
didn't
let's
want to be
talk more about the
in
product.
that type of situation again. I'm sorry?
So let's talk a little more about the product that she was making. So y'all can see she's got tattoos and she was at 59 Inc. So she created a product. Tell us more about that.
It was an aftercare product for tattoos. I thought I had one sitting here, but I don't know where it went. I was going to show it, but it was an aftercare product for tattoos, for the healing process. She really did a good job with it. I want to continue. I have not as of yet, but I've wanted to continue the product for her.
I believe she's holding it in one of these pictures. That's why I put it back up.
Yeah, there you go, right there. Yeah.
And so
She
this
worked
is
on
to
that.
help the tattoo, like moisture. I don't know anything about tattoos.
Yeah, moisturize, to keep it will help in the healing process and keep it more, whatever. I don't know anything about tattoos. I do not have one. So I don't know what the how it works, whatever, but all I know is it was with the healing process, you know.
So what inspired her to start that? I mean, you don't see normal everyday women rushing out to create products like that, especially.
Well, her and her friend Amanda was telling her she needed to start an online business. And I believe that Taylor had wanted to do the salve for some time. She was really into tattoos. I mean, everything about them, she was really into it. So I believe it was just what inspired her was, wanting to do a salve, and then Amanda telling her she needed to start a business, which kind of pushed it all together, along with COVID, kind of pushed her into that, I think I'm going to do this. And off she went. I mean, she did it. I mean, she worked on it tirelessly, but it didn't, I want to say it didn't take her a very long time. I mean, it wasn't something she rushed, but she worked on it long and hard and pulled it off, in a decent amount of time. I was very proud of her. She took the time on the picture on the front. She took a lot of time and that to be exactly like she wanted it. And she had actually, had ideas for other salves, and each one was going to have the Medusa face on it. But it was going to be different color, the hair and the eyes, I think.
And
I
what was
saw a
the
picture
product?
she wanted. I'm sorry?
What was the name of the product?
Tailor Made.
Sorry, I knew what it was, but I love the name of it.
Yeah, Tailor Made. I love that name.
Cute.
Her name is, I spelled her name Tailor. And so I just think that it looks so cool, the way when she decided to do Tailor Made. I don't know. I just thought it was really cool. Maybe I'm just
Cool.
because I'm mom. I don't know.
No, I think it's really cool. I mean, obviously it's a play on words, but it fits it perfectly.
Yes, it does.
Now, do you know how she found out about 59 Inc. in general? Like, had she gone there?
Well, what's sickening is she thought those guys were her friends.
Hmm.
If I'm not mistaken, I could be very wrong. I don't think that I am, but I believe I believe the owner had a tattoo shop, and I don't know if it was his or if he just worked there in Humble. I could be 100% wrong, so nobody come for me on this. I just know that she used to go to a shop in Humble, and I believe it was the same guys. Like I would be willing to almost swear to that. I didn't know the shop was over on Hopper Road. Is that where it's at?
Yeah, it's on Hopper.
Okay, so I didn't even know it was there. I had no clue that it wasn't still in Humble. You know, I as far as I knew it was the same guys, but I thought it was still in Humble. I had no clue they were over on Hopper Road. But she'd known these guys for a while. Him particularly, the owner. He put a lot of tattoos on my daughter. Yes.
And what was the other guy's name? At least it's just his first name.
Zach, I believe.
So she'd known them for a bit. So
yeah,
these aren't strangers to her.
No, and you know what? The aggravation of it, and I think about this all the time. All of it's aggravating, but so when we got to the shop that day, that kid was crying like he was just heartbroken over the whole situation. But you know, being two people that had known my daughter for quite some time, neither one of those boys said one word to me. Not one of them came over and said, "I'm sorry. My heart is broken. I'm so sorry this happened." Nothing, not a word from either one of them.
For those who are just never known anything about this story. So the tattoo shop we're showing right now on the screen, that's 59 Ink. It's a tattoo shop, a smoke shop, and a beauty shop. Apparently, that's a whole lot in one little building, which immediately, allegedly, screams trouble to me, because that's just too much. Especially when smoke shops are involved, I immediately think of my drug of choice, meth, which I'm sober now 14 months. But that's the kind of place I would buy, paraphernalia from. So that immediately is the first thing that sticks out to me. So I can just feel like there's not up to any good. But has she gotten any work done there before? Any tattoos done prior?
Yes. I believe she had. See, I don't know when I don't know when they left the Humble area, if there was any places in between that. So I don't know. I'm pretty positive that was not her first time being in that shop there on Hopper Road.
Now, let's see. Now, for those who are just joining us, for those that don't know anything about the story, so Tailor Clark is Tiffany's daughter. We're talking to Tiffany Clark. Tailor was found deceased in the back of a tattoo shop. They locked her in overnight. We're going to get to why, or their bullshit reasoning as to why. We also have exclusive updates, which I'm really, really happy to share. But it's not often we get good news updates on these stories, sadly. But before we get there, do you remember the last time you talked to Tailor?
I talked to Taylor Marie, gosh, all day long that day. I was out of town at my mother's house in Kennard, Texas. My father had passed 4 months earlier. So I had been there with my mother, just because she's in a wheelchair. She needs somebody to be with her. So I had been there with her since my father passed. And Taylor Marie called me umpteen million times that day. Gosh, like I said, the last time I spoke to her was her standing in the parking lot that night. She called me when she first got there. Then we text back and forth. She had texted me because there was a tattoo I'd wanted to get to honor my father, and she was going to discuss it with Chop. And so once she got inside, she sent me a message asking me what I wanted. And I remember saying to her, texting her back, like, you know exactly what I want. I'm not going to, it's a lot, and I'm not going over it all over again. And she's like, Mom, I'm standing right here with him. I just need you to tell me again, the gist of it. So I went into telling her, what I wanted as briefly as I could. And then I said, and then she didn't say anything back. So I said, understand, rubber band, or something to that effect. Anyway, that was, I guess she got there around 7:30. So, I'm sorry?
On a Friday night?
Yeah. So she'd had dinner with her friends earlier in the night, and she left them at 7 and got there by 7:30. So I guess it was probably around, it may have been about 9 that she had texted me, and I texted her back and said, you understand, rubber band? And then, my mother and I were watching TV, and I dozed off, had fallen asleep watching TV, and I got a text from Taylor. It was the last text I ever got from my daughter, and it said, "Jesus, I died."
Hmm.
Now, at the time, it was not abnormal to get weird messages from my daughter. I immediately texted her and said, "Wait, what?" and tried to call her, and she did not answer. Um, and then I immediately, in my mind, thought, okay, so her phone had died, and she was letting me. That's how it was. She was letting me know her phone had died, and that's why she hadn't responded to me earlier.
Hmm.
So when she didn't respond to me again, it wasn't out of left field. I mean, it really wasn't, because I knew she was supposed to be going out with her boyfriend later that night. So I just assumed that she was already out, and she'd had the opportunity to let me know that her phone uh, had died earlier, and that was her telling me that her phone had died. I figured she was drinking, and she was supposed to be out with her boyfriend. So it didn't raise any red flags that she didn't answer or call me back, and I went back to sleep. And I will never forgive myself for that.
Even to this day.
Mm-mm. I think about that all the time. It's always on my mind. I lay in bed thinking about it. I stare at the walls and I think about it. And I keep trying to tell myself, Tiffany, you didn't do anything wrong. Because it's just as I said, it was not anything out of the ordinary to get a strange message from Taylor Marie. Phones it was just that was so normal to get a weird text. And thinking her phone had died. So that, and I try to tell myself, don't beat yourself up over that. Because it, there was, I was so far from her, so far away from her. But I beat myself up and I tell myself, why didn't you call her boyfriend? Where are y'all at? Why is Taylor sending me strange messages? That's where I beat myself up. Like, why didn't you do that? Because then he would have said, well, I'm not with her and I'm getting strange messages from her as well. And at that point I'd have been, you need to go find her.
Now, do you think she was still alive at that point? Do you think that was someone else sending that message?
It goes back and forth in my head. I don't know. I don't know.
Was there truly anything you could have done? I mean, I don't, obviously, I can't change the way you feel, but I have to wonder, was there really anything you could have done?
I don't. Well,
I mean, honestly,
I try to tell myself all the time, the Lord was ready for her, so she went. It was her time, and there was nothing you could do about that. It was really hard for me when she passed. I mean, I was really mad at the Lord. I was very upset with him, but I had to tell myself, well, it was something somebody said to me. It was my mom and somebody else that said the same thing to me. Like, it's free will. There's free. We all have free will, and it's the free will of Taylor Marie being where she was at that night. It was the free will of those men that did what they did. You couldn't have done anything. It's not your fault. She was an adult.
So absolutely, absolutely. But I mean, I can, as much as I can empathize, again, I'm not a mom. I've never had any children. The closest I've come to losing people is my nephew and my brother, which is not the same. But I can understand losing someone and blaming yourself. That I can understand. Even if people tell you, she's in a better place or you shouldn't blame yourself, it really doesn't help. At the end of the day, we still get in our heads.
Yep.
We get in our heads no matter how much we try not to. But I do wonder, I hope for your sake, at some point you can forgive yourself. I do. I mean, I've known you, I've known you almost as long as Taylor's been gone, and I can definitely see it. A lighter, your spirit has lightened up. I don't know if that's just time away from it, or what's happened recently, but you definitely don't seem as emotionally heavy as you did when I first met you. So I'd venture to think that maybe you're in the process of getting there. You're just not there yet.
Yeah, I'm trying. I been through some pretty dark times, but I finally just told myself, well, number one, she's always in my ear. Mom, quit being so dramatic, because that was my daughter. Why
As
are you being
someone
so
that can
dramatic?
channel her and has, and y'all can think I'm crazy, but it's my gift. The first time she ever came to me, she was fluttering all around me and she wouldn't sit down. And I'm just like, I think I text you at that moment. I'm like, she's kind of annoying me. She's like, oh, that's Taylor.
It
um,
was definitely, she was something else.
but I mean, I love that I have this gift sometimes, and sometimes I don't. But I do. Let's just get back into the still to that dark night. So, how or what? I know the answer to this already. But if you can go there again with me, how did you find out that Taylor had passed?
Well, the next morning, the first thing I did when I got up was call Taylor to get on to her for that message. And she didn't answer. I called a couple more times, sent her a couple texts. That was protocol. I didn't, if she'd sent a weird message or whatever, I would immediately start calling her and texting her that if it wasn't at that exact moment, it was, if it was nighttime the next morning, whatever. But in the midst of trying to call her and get her to answer the phone, her boyfriend called. Have you talked to Taylor? And I was like, no, she sent me a really weird message. And that's when he told me he'd been getting really weird messages from her the night before. He was kind of irritated with her because they were supposed to go out. And after we talked, now, don't nobody come for me over any of this, because, like I said, I was not in my right mind and have not been for a long time. I'm just now becoming a tad bit normal again. So I don't remember exactly how things went. I know kind of sort of. So we were talking back and forth, and at some point I was like, hold on a second, let me call the kid, Presley's grandmother, because she had the kids. And I knew that if Taylor hadn't picked up those kids, something wasn't right, because she would never not pick up the kids. So I called Phyllis, and she was hot because Taylor had not picked up the children. So then that started a whole I think I asked the kid's grandma to or we talked about her coming over here, and I was on the phone with her. She was knocking on the door, she was knocking on the windows. I was telling her, knock on it really hard. If she came in late, she might be asleep. Something might have happened. She might have had a flat tire in the car somewhere else. And then her dad's wife got involved. And so it was like a triangle of us all talking back and forth. We said several times, somebody needs to go out, somebody said somebody needs to go out to the shop. Cause that's where, I know I said that to somebody, like, that's where we know she was at last. So somebody needs to go to the shop. Well, my ex-husband's wife, Taylor's dad's wife, she had the same idea. So she sent her son in that direction. Well, in the meantime, we'd all been kind of like calling the local bars, and maybe Taylor went into one and drank too much and she was sleeping in the parking lot, like we were trying to get anything. And so there was a bunch of humming going on, people making phone calls, different whatever. Anyway, so she sent her son and his best friend out there. I told Taylor's boyfriend at the time, you need to go to that shop. Taylor's best friend also was headed, her and her husband were headed to the shop. By this time, I had jumped in the truck and was headed in Kennard, Texas, headed this way. And so when the boys got to the shop, they found Taylor's car. And I don't know what the conversation was between him and his mother, but she called me and said, we found Taylor. Thank God she's asleep in her car.
Mm.
And I literally pulled over on the side of the road, like just in it's complete so I could breathe, and it was contemplating, was I going to go ahead and go and get on to her for this? Or was I going to do it over the phone? Was I going to go back home and be with mom? And I got back on the road and was headed back, and it kind of struck me. I thought, I'm going to call Tammy back because I need to find out if they've actually laid their eyes on Taylor. Like, have they touched her? Have they spoke to her? And so before I could call her back, she called me and she said, Tiffany, it's bad. And I was like, what do you mean it's bad? I think my voice was elevated at the time. I was, in aggravation of of what I knew I was probably fixing to hear.
Mm.
And she said, she didn't make it. I was like, what do you mean she didn't make it? She said she didn't make it, Tiffany. And so, of course, naturally, I started screaming and I threw my phone and made my way back to the side of the road. And I don't know, I think I beat the steering wheel up a little bit. I mean, there's so much going through my mind all at once. Like, what? Can't be. And then her boyfriend called me and he was just, they did something to her. They did something to her, Tiffany. She didn't look right. They did something to her. And then Taylor's best friend called me and we cried together.
Mm.
And I made the decision to get back on the road and try to drive some more. So I drove on into my sister's house. I called her right before I got there and I said, I need you and my brother-in-law to meet me in the driveway. I need you to drive me. Taylor's gone. My baby's gone. And she said, what do you mean? Left over. So I went to her house and they got in the truck and I drove in I rode in the back seat, and I really don't remember that anymore from that point to when we got to the shop.
I just want to reiterate real quick. So you go from kind of panicking with the family because Taylor hasn't picked up the kids from from their grandmother's house, their other grandmother's house. So you're kind of in the headspace that, okay, something's wrong, something's very wrong, and then you get a call that they found Taylor's car. So you feel hopeful for just a moment,
Yeah.
and you get another call that she's dead.
Well, fear had, before I got that second call, fear struck.
Mm.
Like, yeah, have they spoke to her? Is she asleep in her car? Is there something wrong with her?
Like, you think you just felt like, no, like it almost feels like you knew something was just wrong, even if they'd given you that kind of slice of hope there. It just
there
didn't.
was, I really felt like something was wrong. It just, the messages her boyfriend told me, he sent them to me. I was reading them and
What kind of messages were?
just, they were flirting back and forth, kind of, sort of. And the flirting that was going on was a little off key to me. It just didn't, I don't know, it just didn't sit right with me. And he said it didn't, I said, does she normally refer to you like that? He said, no. So I don't want to say what was in the message. Because here's the thing, there's another side to this. There's another side that's like, well, did Taylor send you that message or did somebody else send you that message? Was Taylor the one sending those messages to her boyfriend or was somebody else sending those messages? So, I mean, there's a whole nother side to it, that has always been there. Because there's also the situation, there's the part of it where, Taylor had two phones. One of them she had thought she had lost it. She went and bought another one. And then they found her phone the very next day. So she just kind of kept random things, on the one phone. And then she used the other one one of the phones was in the car, one of them was in her purse. The phone that had actually been in the shop with her, but somehow another was in her purse in her car, which was an absolute no. Taylor would have never have done that. But that phone, all of the correspondence between her and the owner of the shop had been deleted.
So they had access to her phone.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
So, yeah, allegedly. So, there's just little things like that.
So in that moment, hearing that, my spidey senses lead me to believe that those messages weren't from Taylor.
So
I mean, I can allege that. I'm alleging, that those messages weren't from Taylor. Because they don't
we've all
her. They don't.
We've all kicked it around.
Yeah. Because why would she text you, Jesus, I died? That just.
Yeah.
Even playing, for what reason? I don't.
Well, here's the deal. The reason it seemed like it could have been something that it's the reason it sounded to me was that it was her, and it was because she was supposed to be out with her boyfriend. They would have been drinking. So at that point, I was thinking, okay, her and boyfriend are out. She's drinking and remembers in the midst of her drinking, oh, I need to text mom back because I never text her back. And so she's trying to text me and let me know her phone died. But that's how it comes out. So, and I can see that.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's two things that, there's the two sides and that we've, kicked around and thought about and tried to understand, decide that, we'll never.
Mama, I gotta say, you still give them a lot of grace, and that speaks to you, who you are. Because, I mean, take it for what you will. My gift being what it is, but I don't feel like any of those messages are from Taylor. Now that's just me. I don't know that much about her. But none of those messages scream Taylor to me. I feel like someone's playing with you. I feel like someone's being very sadistic, and almost rubbing your nose in it. But I have to say again, just hearing you talk about it still feels like you're giving them some grace, which shows me the kind of mother you are, because these are the people that killed her daughter, and you're still kind of giving them just a little, I don't want to say forgiveness, but just a little grace. And that's inspiring to me.
Well, I haven't forgiven them, but I do pray for them.
Amen. I hear that. Now, what did I already know the bullshit story, but let's tell the audience who may not know it. What did they say happened to Taylor?
They said Taylor came in and she was intoxicated, highly intoxicated, and that she had went into the rec room and passed out. And when time to go rolled around, the one kid said he couldn't wake her, so he called the owner, and the owner said, "Oh, just let her sleep it off. Just lock up and leave her there."
Lock up and let a drunk, according to them, let a drunk woman stay alone overnight.
Now, mind you, they gave her tattoos. They touched up her tattoo after she got there. So, isn't that against the law? Aren't you not supposed to tattoo people who are intoxicated?
Well, you're not supposed to tattoo people that are intoxicated. That much I know. But
so, yeah. So there's that. It's just it's a bunch of back and forth.
So their reasoning is she's intoxicated,
right?
Unconscious, and you can't bring her back. And it's closing time, so you're gonna go home, and you're just gonna leave her there to sleep it off. You're gonna leave a woman you don't know that well, who's intoxicated, who's unconscious, inside your business overnight by herself. This is their story.
Yeah.
Without any, without adding anything to it. These are just the facts as they're presenting them, as they want us to believe.
Right.
Okay. Now, wasn't there also, if I remember the story correctly, because Mark Hoover had you on from Catch My Killer. I love Mark Hoover. Thank you for all you do. But I remember in that interview, you said that there was a customer there while Taylor was there. And if I remember correctly, he or she, I think it was a he, said that she was she was perfectly sober when she got there, but became increasingly like her level of consciousness changed as the night went on. Is that true?
Yes. Well, I talked to two different people. We talked to a couple of different people the day of the protest, and got a couple of different stories from them. Like the one guy said he was in there with his daughter, getting her ears pierced, and I'm trying to remember what story he said. I believe he said that she seemed perfectly okay to him. That she did have a drink of some kind in her hand. She was drinking, but that she seemed, fine to him. He said if I would have felt like that she was not okay, I would never have left her there. A woman by herself, if she would have been in the state that they're saying she was in. And then there was another gentleman that said that he sat there and talked with her, and that, he could tell that, she was progressing in whatever was going on with her. But that when he left, she was, it wasn't like she was still functioning, she wasn't
Just
non-functioning.
cognizant.
Yes. He said she was carrying on conversation, talking with people, what have you.
Okay, so when
And
boyfriend gets there the following morning, the shop is locked up.
Yeah, the shop was locked, and the kid Zach showed up, and they said, we're here to we're here for Taylor. Or he asked them, are you here for Taylor, whatever. So now I've heard since then from one of Taylor's friends that when everybody was looking for her the next morning, that she picked up the phone and called Zach Kid and was like, hey, where the hell is Taylor? You're the last person that was with her last night. Where is she at? And supposedly he was like, oh God, I'm glad you called. Now don't hold me to this word for word. Like, I don't remember exactly word for word, but if I remember correctly, she was saying that he said, oh, I forgot. I got to go let her out. I'm gonna let you go. I'm glad you called. Da, 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 da. So, and when this all happened, and everybody was bringing up the point that they locked her in there, we were getting all this back from them was like, the back door, all you do is push it, you can open it, like first number, and we were all like, well, how would she know that, number one, but now all this time later, I'm hearing that he was like, oh, I'm glad you called, I need to go let her out, so
am I hearing?
Yeah, 100%, I believe she was locked in there.
I want to make sure I'm hearing this correctly. Are they saying that there was a back door that you could just push open and anyone can get inside?
You know how that you can push it from the inside, but not from the outside. It's locked.
Oh, okay. It's one of
That's
those.
what they were saying. They had the door was like that she could have easily got up and left.
So if she had
was like,
come to her senses,
yes, that's what they were trying to say, that it was okay.
She could have let herself out.
Yeah.
So we know she never did.
Right.
Obviously. And so they found her this time went by really fast. So they found her on the couch in the back of the tattoo shop, right?
Yes.
And
that she looked like she was sleeping.
And the police came. This is Harris County. What did the police tell you?
Well, they didn't really tell us too much. First of all, I went and told them after I got there that I wanted to see my daughter. I needed that confirmation. And at first they were telling me they couldn't do that. I was like, yeah, you're going to let me see my daughter. Like, she's not leaving this building until I see her, period. And so they finally, decided I could see my daughter. And so, they let her father and I go in there, and, I just think I was in shock. It really hadn't set into me that, I mean, I knew she was gone, but I didn't know she was gone. Like I was, uh, it took me a long, long, long time to realize that she was not going to walk, or that she wasn't going to call. But when I went in there, it was more, I was talking to her like, what happened? What happened? I was in such shock. But after that, after they let us see her and they took her away, there were no arrests made, and I didn't understand why. Like, why are these young men walking around like nothing's going on?
Mm.
And so I started, Tiffany and me started coming out, and I getting kind of aggravated, like, what the heck is going on? And the cop was telling me, ma'am, to do this, that, what have you. And well, this, and I mean, he wasn't making any sense. And I think I was raising my voice at a certain point, and another police officer walked over and was like, looked at the guy and said, you need to get her under control or something to that extent. And I was all like, it's not going to happen. And he's like, ma'am, you need to come up here with me right now. So he takes me over to the side and he's all like, I'm like, why in the hell aren't these two boys being arrested? I said, look, at rock bottom at the very least. They failed to render aid to my daughter. That is against the law. Why are we not arresting them? And he's like, ma'am, your daughter was drunk when she came up here yesterday. And I go, that's a lie. That's a lie. I spoke to her when she was standing in the parking lot. Like, as she shut her vehicle door to go in, I spoke with her on the phone and she was not intoxicated. And I know my daughter when she's intoxicated because I'm the one person she likes to call when she's intoxicated.
My next question would be, why is that relevant?
Yeah.
Even if she had been drunk. So
exactly. But
me,
and there was
locked her inside.
Yeah, there's so many different things that in my mind I'm like, why didn't you say, to them, yada yada? But literally I was in shock. Like I really.
Okay, so I just want to make sure the audience is aware, for those, because now we got a few watchers and some newbies. So Tiffany's daughter Taylor was found dead in the back of 59 Eek. She'd been locked inside overnight. They said she was drunk. They left her in there to sleep it off. That's their bullshit reasoning. There was some weird messages being sent to both Tiffany and Taylor's boyfriend. The last message Tiffany got from Taylor said, "Jesus, Mom, I died." When she actually had died. We don't know if that message was sent by Taylor herself or by someone that, helped take her life. So from what I'm gathering from hearing your story, well, I mean, I know this to be true, but this was never treated as a criminal case.
No.
At all.
At all.
Now, keep in mind, audience, for those listening and watching, this was September of 2021, and there was a big case that was all over the news at the same time. And I'm about to say her name, but let me preface by saying this is absolutely nothing against her, and this is everything against the mainstream media. Because Taylor's case to date, 3 years later, has gotten 0 seconds of mainstream media coverage. But while this is happening, Gabby Petito's case is wall to wall to wall to wall. Where's Brian Laundrie? Oh, she's on Instagram. Oh, there was a van. Oh, we found this and we found that. To date, Taylor has gotten 0 seconds of mainstream media coverage, which is why I get so animated and why I'm so connected with this case, because I don't understand why, especially since this is the second woman found dead in the owner of the shop's vicinity, whether it's his business or his home. 2 dead women, both claim to have died of being drunk or being on drugs. One is a little suspicious, but maybe believable. But 2, come on, Harris County.
So where are the red flags? What? I don't even get it.
Honey, this is like bullhorn, like.
and trying to talk to the sergeant or whatever he is over the homicide division in Harris County.
Bless your heart.
Man, oh man, that man was. Wow.
You don't have to tell me.
I'm trying to tell the man. We got all of this. We had so many people reach out to us, so many women. This man is a predator. Like, why are y'all not, try, like, how come it's not raising a red flag that a woman was found dead a year, she had drugs in her system.
Okay. And
okay. Well, so then my daughter passed away. Well, we're pretty positive we're going to have, there's going to be drugs in her system.
Oh, we're assuming. Now,
I'm like, but it doesn't raise a red flag to you. Like, why are you not? This is the homicide division, correct? I mean, I was completely. To this day, I spoke to that man very little. Uh, but here's the thing. When I was standing in the parking lot of that shop, I knew standing right there that no one was ever going to investigate my daughter's death, that I was going to have to learn how to, gather evidence, um, talk to people. I was going to have to learn how to investigate something because in order for my daughter to get any kind of justice, I was going to have to do something that got the ball rolling.
Hmm.
I knew that Harris County was not going to do a damn thing for my daughter. And here we are 3 years later, and Harris County has done nothing for my daughter. They failed her. They failed our family. They failed our children. They failed Priscilla's family, Priscilla and Priscilla's children. And all I can say, it, it, it makes me sick because I don't feel like this is the last person that will lose their life in this situation. And it makes me sick because they're not willing to investigate, either of these young men, either of them have not been investigated for this. And it's ridiculous. Just recently there was something going on Facebook where there was a young lady that was dating one of these guys and jumps on Facebook and starts telling everybody that, he killed a girl, and I know it to be true now. You know,
And they're referring to Taylor?
yeah. And so when one of Taylor's friends like completely went livid over it, she flipped out, and I mean, I know there's hearsay and so forth and everything. I'm just saying it's something that needs to be looked into,
Absolutely.
but again, it wouldn't matter if I went up there with this girl on my arm and said, we need to talk to this girl. They probably wouldn't let us in. Because they did that with us one time before. They wouldn't let us in, then they wouldn't come down and talk to us.
Of course not, because I mean, if you've got nothing to hide and if, everything you're saying is true, then why wouldn't you just clear the air and, talk to the
Yeah,
mom?
Harris County is a joke, 100%.
Oh, honey, you don't have to tell me. I literally have DNA.
I know. We both know that they are a joke.
I have DNA evidence that links my nephew to a place where his ankle monitor pinged for 41 hours and an eyewitness puts him and cadaver dogs, and they're saying there's no evidence of foul play.
It's just sickening. It really is. It's sickening that we are sitting here with our, discussing our loved ones and our tax dollars pay for these people's jobs, and we can't get them to investigate our loved ones.
No, because one is black and an addict, and the other is a so-called addict, quote unquote. She's on drugs. So that means she doesn't matter, according to them.
It makes me sick because Taylor Marie, but because she had drugs in her system, and this is the sickening part about it is I'm telling you right now, those drugs came straight out of that shop.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Whatever was in my daughter's system came out of that shop, and I know it to be true. It is the truth. Nobody will ever tell me any different.
I believe
Nobody.
you, wholeheartedly believe you. Now, I do want to double back real quick because there is one question I wanted to ask, and this is a sad question, but I'm wondering who told her kids about her passing and how did they take it?
Well, there was so little they didn't really understand. Presley, her lizard died, and that is how they made her understand. The little guy, yeah, I think now he understands, but not fully. He just knows his mom didn't come home. They both know mom didn't come home, and they know they go visit her at a spot in the cemetery. It's so sad. It really is. They left here with their mom that day, and mom was going to pick them up the next morning, and that's all they know is mom never came back. And now I try to explain, because the little one, he asked me, he will ask me, every time I see him, he'll say, why did my mom have the eye? And I tell him, I say, baby, he says, "What happened, Gigi?" And I said, "Well, baby, somebody gave her bad drugs. Bad medicine is what it's like. Somebody gave her bad medicine. But why?" And I said, "I don't know why they did that, baby. But she took bad medicine, and that's what happened."
Hmm.
I mean, what else? I don't know what to say to a child. I, I'm it breaks me to even have to try to talk to him about it, but I
Hmm.
don't know what's being told over by anybody else. Um, I don't. We don't associate her that side of the family, and my granddaughter's None of us talk, so I don't know what they're saying to the kid.
Now, I believe you said one of them was 3 when she died, and which was the
The
exact age
little one.
of when my brother was murdered. So when you said sorry, when you said what you just said, that took me back. Because no one ever talked to me about Michael's death. I just remember Michael left, and then the next day, I mean, I had I don't want to say privilege, but I can't think of the word. I was cursed to see his dead body. Um,
Oh,
that
all right.
definitely changed my childhood, but like at 3, like it didn't make sense to me either. Hell, it took years before that made sense, and it still doesn't quite make sense. But like obviously,
Yeah,
back it's been 37 years. But when you said that, it took me back. Now I just want to reiterate that the news, mainstream media, let me say mainstream media, outside of Grizzy, outside of Grizzy,
Grizzy's the only person that covered my daughter's story, other than Paul, Uncle Paul here.
but
Between
I
the
do
two of
like.
them, they're the only ones that spoke about my daughter on anything.
I appreciate that. I don't want to be considered. I mean, obviously, I appreciate what I do, but what Grizzy does is on a whole nother level, and I give credit where credit's due. Um,
Yes, on a new level, Grizzy is the only news.
Grizzy, because
She's the bomb.
and we talk when we talk, which is, but she knows how much I love her. But y'all don't know what a vital role she plays in Houston, because you can imagine Tiffany's daughter was one of 2 women found dead by the owner of this tattoo shop, and yet mainstream media, nothing. You wouldn't even know about it if it wasn't for Grizzy.
And that's ridiculous because I mean that but
We're a
they're
couple podcasts.
plastering but they're plastering and nothing against Gabby Petito. She deserved justice as well. But they're plastering the Petito case
Hmm.
on every news station in Houston 24/7. That's all you could see. My daughter was from the city. Your nephew from the city, and I mean, what the heck?
It took us 5
Hmm.
months to get coverage for AJ, and no disrespect to Randy Wallace, but it was kind of presented as, breaking bond, which I wasn't particularly fond of. But it's still, we got coverage after 5 months, but it took us going viral time and time and time again to where they couldn't ignore us. But still, to this day, it doesn't. I don't understand why Taylor couldn't get a second. And there is this belief, and it statistically is true, that typically white women get covered on the news as opposed to black and brown women. But for Taylor, that rule does not apply to Taylor. Doesn't work for
I think
Taylor.
it had a lot to do with the tattoo. She was in a tattoo shop,
She's in a
and
tattoo
they
shop.
put it out directly as an overdose. They did that like it was put out like to the ambulance that it was an overdose. Like they put that out before it was even they could even get there and call it
If it
that.
was an overdose, did they try to Narcan her?
I don't know. I don't know what they did in there. I just know that she was pronounced deceased as soon as they got there.
And if I remember correctly, they weren't very forthcoming about what they did, if anything, right?
Yeah, no,
Now,
no.
we got to wrap up. So I want to get to the good stuff, because it's not all sad, y'all. We have some pretty big updates. We have some pretty big updates. So you did reach out to a lawyer, and if I remember correctly, this is not the first one you reached out to.
Yeah, so we signed with one attorney who just kind of he just drug us along for like a year. I mean, just filled us full of baloney. Um, talked a big game and didn't do anything. And then so it was a I it took me about a year before I was willing to even think about an attorney. So when this attorney, we signed with him, and I say we, it was me. I'm the only person in any of the family that did anything for my daughter trying to get justice for her. So when I say we, I'm speaking of me, my family, and Taylor's best friend. Taylor's best friend has been at my side, the whole time. So when we went to see this attorney, he drug us just stupidly for about a year, but it was close to a year. But anyway, so when I realized we were rolling up on that 2 year mark, I started like really getting concerned. So I remember making a phone call to Amanda. I'm like, hey, I need you to get on the phone. I need you to like start calling any attorney that does this kind of work. And let's just see if we can find another attorney that we can get to sign us, because if they at least get in and get it, you know, go down to the courthouse and put in the whatever, I can't even think right now. But if they at least do it, at least it's done, and then you know, then we're not past the 2 year mark for the statute of limitations. Nobody really wanted anything to do with it. They weren't touching it. And I was like, I didn't understand why. So anyway, long story short, um, someone, a person I had met along the way reached out to me and was talking to me. It was one of Taylor's friends, and had told me, about some people that worked with these attorneys and so forth. Anyway, so long story short, I was speaking with somebody on the phone one day, and we were talking about the statute of limitations, and I said, but here's the thing, and I feel like there's a loophole, and we just have to find the right person that knows about those loopholes.
Hmm.
And so about 2 weeks later, I got a phone call, and I called this attorney, and I signed with him right away because he said, yeah, I can do this. I feel like we can handle this. And I'm going to tell you right now, this attorney is a phenomenal attorney. He was awesome. He told me what he was going to do, and he did it. He didn't waste any time. He handled it. And it took him less than a year. So far into it, he said, I'm going to send him a demand letter. And he sent me a copy of that demand letter. It was fabulous.
What
I
was he
mean, it just,
demanding?
huh?
What was he demanding?
Well, he was demanding what we wanted from them. And so, he says in the letter, it said, that of course they didn't call. This is just one line I remember, that they didn't call an ambulance for Taylor that night because they didn't want Taylor to be able to tell anybody what had happened to her in there that night.
Hmm.
Those words were in that letter. So they jumped right on that, and they settled with us. And, I feel like I feel like we made a step forward there. Um,
Are you able to say
every,
how much they settled for, or do you want to keep that
I'm
off?
not going to,
Okay, no,
yeah, I'm not going to
no
say
worries.
that.
But let's just say it's enough.
It's enough.
And
It's enough.
how did it feel when the lawyer came to you and presented you with that amount? We're not gonna say it, but when they presented you with this number.
I started crying. And by the way, his name is Sylvester Anderson.
Thank
He is
you.
absolutely phenomenal attorney.
I want to say that Sylvester Anderson.
Sylvester Anderson, absolutely amazing. He's a very good attorney, and he is, um,
Oh, I think you muted yourself. Oh, I lost you. Yeah, I think I lost your audio. Maybe it's your headset. Uh-oh. Oh, there you are. I hear something. Talk.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you are. Okay.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, he jumped right in there. He said he could win this case, and he did just that. He got it settled for us in less than a year, and I couldn't be more thankful to this man. Because my main concern was the kid.
I want to say my favorite part of the story, besides the amount, and that you got something, was that their lawyer didn't put an NDA in there. So we can talk about it. Because that was a big part of me wanting to tell the update. Was I wanted to make sure that there was no non-disclosure agreement in there, because
Right.
you're I don't want to say winning.
Yeah, we waited. That's why I waited. I wanted to make certain that there was no snags whatsoever. But yeah,
their lawyers were so incompetent that they didn't put a non-disclosure agreement. Typically, in cases like this where you settle out of court, you can't talk about the case, because both parties say, okay, we're just going to shut up about it. You get this amount and you shut up. Typically, that's how it goes. But I was shocked when Tiffany said, no, there's nothing in there about me shutting up about it, which is why we're doing this live. So after 3 years, because the 3-year anniversary just happened a couple weeks back on the 18th, the lawyers for 59 Inc. settled with Tiffany for an undisclosed amount. But that will go to her children and will, keep them comfortable, we'll say. Now, to me, that's miraculous, but does that feel like justice?
Oh, that's not all of it. That's just the beginning.
Oh, say that again. Oh, I love that. Come on.
I'm not giving up. That's, they owed that to my grandkids.
I wonder from a legal standpoint if there's anything you can do with that. Is that an admission of guilt? Is it? Because why would you settle?
I feel like it was. But
if you're completely innocent, why would you settle for anything?
Exactly. That's the way I look at it. But, I'm not going to stop fighting for justice for my daughter. She deserves it. Taylor mattered to me. She may not have mattered to some people, but she damn sure mattered to me.
Amen.
And she mattered to those kids. She mattered to her family. I mean, it's a daily struggle for all of us. We miss Taylor tremendously. There are days that I go to my sister and my mom, my sister, bless her heart, she was like Taylor's second mom. She was crazy my mom was crazy about Alyssa. She was the first, the first little girl in our family, so she, she was very loved. So all my children are very loved. All of Jennifer's children are very loved, but she's very missed.
I hear you. What do you want Taylor's legacy to be?
Her legacy is the kid for me. You ask me questions like I don't know how to answer that question. I really don't.
That's an honest
answer. The kids are her legacy.
No, I appreciate that honesty. What do you say to moms out there fighting for justice and feeling like they're getting nowhere? I know a few of them.
Don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. I mean, I have got no criminal anything against these guys, but I'm not giving up. I'll fight till I die. I may not be doing. It may not look like I'm doing anything, but
they don't see what you're doing because you're not live on TikTok or Facebook all the time, but you're making mountains move.
I'll never give up fighting for my daughter's justice. She deserves that.
Amen.
We deserve that.
Not only that, but the women, and this is my next question, but the women that this may happen to again deserve it too, which is why I wanted to go live about this, because if they're settling, I'm going to allege that they feel guilty. Now, what do you say to a woman or a young woman who wants to go to 59 Inc.?
Stay away from that place. Stay away. All you got to do is, I don't even have to sit here and say anything other than my daughter lost her life in that shop. But other than that, I don't have to say anything. Public records are public knowledge. All anybody's got to do is look things up.
Secret. This is all public. This is nothing.
Yes.
Nothing we've said for the most part, unless the parts we said were alleged.
There's nothing I've said about anything or anybody that is something you can't look up online. It's all public knowledge.
What do you say? What do you want to say to Houston mainstream media?
Y'all suck. You failed. You're a failure at what you're supposed to be doing. You're reporting on the wrong things. Like how is something that's going on across the country, on the other side of the country, more important than what's going on in your very own city? How? I don't understand.
So in
All I
the
can say is this: is that reporting has definitely changed over the years. What I see today is just BS. It's not. It's not what's important.
I agree,
They've
and
got it all back and twisted around
amen.
as to what's important and what's not.
And they bully the people that are out there trying to do the Lord's work, like Grizzy.
Exactly.
Talking to you,
Exactly.
talking to you, Maya Shay. Talking mess about
Hey,
Grizzy's the only one we have out there.
exactly. Grizzy is out there spitting the truth to everybody, and I love her for it. I love that woman. Like we needed her.
Hmm.
Well, listen here, she's the bomb. She really is. I love her to death, and I keep up the good work, girl.
Hmm. What if so between Taylor being killed and now we've had a change in Houston mayors. We went from Sylvester Turner to Mayor Whitmire. What would you say to Mayor Whitmire?
Clean it up, do something. I mean, get behind this crime. I mean, you got to start somewhere. And I think the best place to start is in the crime in our city that's not handled, that's not dealt with. There's a lot of it. There's a lot of things being swept under rugs.
And not
You know,
reported as crime, like AJ, like
exactly.
Taylor.
There's too much out there. I mean, they need to start. They need to start with the crime. That's 100 right there. That's where it needs to start at. That's where they need to start trying to clean up the city up. They need to start with that.
After all you've been through with Harris County, can you empathize with folks that have issues with cops?
I can, yes, to an extent. Yes. There's a lot of there's good cops and there's bad cops. That's the truth.
Hmm.
There are man, there's some things that go on that should not go on. You know what I'm saying? There's man, there's just a lot of bad stuff that goes on in the city. It comes right down to you've got good, you've got bad.
Amen. And I would say I agree with you to some extent, but I think sometimes when you've got the good and they're not saying anything about the bad, sometimes it makes them bad too.
Exactly. I'll agree.
Because I never ever in my lifetime thought I would be speaking out against HPD because I grew up, I don't want to say worshiping, but super super respecting them, for what
Right.
because that's what I was taught. Um, but y'all, they call me shameless and vile. They call simply for asking them to just be nice to my sister who'd lost a child.
Exactly.
I'm shameless and vile and acting like a brat, which I'll own the brat part. We're gonna okay, we got one more question. If Taylor was sitting here right now, what do you think she would say about all of this?
Ooh, what would she say? Man, there's so many things I think she would say. I mean, my sister and I had this conversation one day, and I said, I think that she wouldn't want all the fuss.
Mm.
I think she'd tell us to leave it alone. And Jennifer said, no, she wouldn't. No, she would not. Like, well, because I felt like that she would just be like, just stop it. Just leave it alone. It's over and done. And Jennifer said, no, she wouldn't. I think that she would definitely want to, I, I don't know. I believe because of the kids, she would definitely want us to pursue this and not stop. Um, there's that part of me. There's a part of me that says that a big part of me says that because of the kids, that she would just, balls to the wall, keep going, mom, don't stop, you know, don't let up.
I hear
But then
that.
there's also a side of me that believes that she would say, mom, just relax, just go live your life, be happy.
I feel like both of those things are true, but I also feel like there's no way you can relax. I
Uh-uh.
with enough grieving moms to know there's no relaxing for y'all.
No,
Not
it's
until
it's too
something bad.
hard.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. a big weight has been lifted off of me at this point right now. I feel like I've achieved something.
Absolutely. Something huge, something a lot of
Yeah.
people don't get.
And
Mine included.
something, and you know, and at a certain point when I didn't think I was going to be able to achieve that, I was so heartbroken because I felt like I let her down. Felt like I let the kids down. You know, I was so just distraught over it. And then to turn around and find out that, you know, there was a superhero out there, Sylvester Anderson.
Come on, Sylvester Anderson. You know, I'll say this one thing about, ooh, I'm going to get really personal and I'll probably start crying. But what else is new? Um, you know, the 2 year mark. Most people don't know this, but to claim wrongful death, like you have 2 years.
Yeah.
This is the statute of limitations. Why? I don't know who came up with that cockamamie rule, but that's the
Yeah, it's BS.
So I don't know everything about that, but that's just what I know. And I just remember when the 2 year mark came and we hadn't gotten anything for AJ because we don't have a single lawyer that wants to touch this case. I just remember trying to kill myself because I felt like that was just the end. I mean, I'm not a parent, but that's the closest I've ever been to one. So that's when I like really went off on the deep end with using. I tried to shoot up so much meth that it would kill me and it didn't work. But that
Because we still needed you here, Paul.
from year 2 to 3, that was when like things got super, super dark for me.
Yeah.
Because like, I just felt like a failure. So I can definitely empathize there. Is there, before we wrap up, is there anything else you want to say that you feel like we may have missed?
I think we covered it all.
All right. No.
Just that, you know, just want us all to keep going forward, you know, and do what we need to do here. We need to not let Houston off the hook.
Amen.
Houston
And
and
use the
Harris
media
County.
off the hook
We need
either.
to hold them. Yeah, the media, Harris County, Houston, everybody. We need to hold them accountable because everybody matters. You
Amen.
know, it's
And
not the police or it's not they're not the judge and jury. You know, and it just seems to me in these particular cases that they acted as if they were and decided that, you know, these weren't important cases to try to move forward in. So I think we need to hold these people accountable.
amen. And I'll say this to you, like I know I don't typically like to get political, but here I will, because I know like you and I stand on two sides of the political aisle. And that's okay. We're allowed to do that as Americans. But what I want to say is a lot of times people politicize this. Like they won't let you say anything criticizing the cops because then you're anti-cop. But on the other side, it's all the judges. Like it's all the judges' fault. Y'all, it's everyone's fault. It's the bad cops. It's the
truth.
it's the crappy media. It's all of them. Don't let them pull us one side or the other. I'm here as a dyed-in-the-wool liberal telling you it's everyone.
It's all, yes. They need to wipe the whole lot of them out and start over.
Amen. So we will agree on that. All right,
Yes,
Mama.
we will.
I'm going to you off. I'm going to wrap up the show real quick, and then I'm going to go get a workout because I really need it. All right,
All
Mama.
right. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you so much for this.
You're welcome. I love you.
Bye. I love you more.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, y'all. So that was Tiffany Clark, Tailor Clark's mother. If you're listening on the podcast, which will be posted soon, please share it. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, please share, and subscribe. Thank you again to the singer of our theme song, Ari Zizzo. Today is his 1-year sobriety birthday. He did provide us with our theme song, which free of charge because y'all I can't afford the money for this. So I'm gonna he's gonna play us out real quick. Y'all, I am not as good with the Zoom as I used to be. Oh, and it's loud. Okay, we're gonna go real quick here, and Ari Zizzo is gonna play us out, I believe, if I can get there. Bear with me. I used to be so good at this, y'all. I have gotten really bad at the Zoom and the live, but we'll get back there. All right. I love y'all. And here's Ari. Y'all have a good night. Stay safe and remember, stay in the light.
No matter where I try to leave, these words will never let me go.